Hello there Reason users, PoohBear here and welcome to my channel. And today I'm just going to have a quick look at Scalar 3 because there's been quite an important update that really affects us Reason users. So I've just thrown myself in a Scalar 3. I'm just going to throw myself in this little string instrument. It's made up of loads of redominators, that's all it is at the moment. And I will go through this next bit in details, but I'm just going to quickly lock this off to one of my MIDI devices. And I'm just going to open up Scalar. We're going to open up on another screen, knowing my luck. Let's go and grab that over. Here we go. Hopefully everyone can see this. So let me zoom in, he says. Here we go. So we've got Scalar up and running and it's playing the piano from Scalar at the moment. What I'm going to simply do is come in. I'm going to select myself my MIDI channel, happens to be MIDI channel 2. And then I'm going to select my MIDI device itself, which is NC port A. And I'm just going to come into here. I'm just going to let me keep that open, mute that, and now if I move this out of the way, he says, let's come over here, you better see this playing. So we're obviously now playing the strings inside of Reason. So we've done this sort of thing before where I would put this inside of Elements. I use Cursory Elements a lot. There are some other hosts out there which do exactly the same thing. We use a MIDI loopback. And we come in and we make ourselves upper surface controller. We've still got to do them particular steps. It just makes it easier because we can obviously sort of shove it inside. So for those who really don't know about loopback midis and all the rest of it, I do have a video which will talk about that more in a lot more detail. And I also talk about my Midi Codec, but I'll go over it very briefly in this video as well. So what we're doing, I'm just going to grab up my MIDI ports. Here's my MIDI port. So this is my loop MIDI. So this is my MIDI loopback. When you install this particular one, you only get the one port, which is say loop MIDI. And if you've only got one MIDI port or you've only got a couple, you might want to make yourself up a new port for each of your tracks. If you're like me and I've got absolutely loads of MIDI ports, I do not want to do that because I've already got too many MIDI ports to manage. So you can use my codec file, and my codec file, when we bring MIDI data in, we can actually specify which MIDI port we want to be listening to. So I happen to use this one here at the moment. It's called NC port A. And you can see I've got A, B, C and D because I have 64 channels which I pump in from voltage modular into Reason when I'm running up my 64 instruments. So you can simply go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, as many ports as you want to however many tracks you've got in here. And then actually inside Reason itself, let's see if we can pull up the preference window. Just bear with me 1 second. Oh, it's there. I had it here off the screen. So you've got a choice of how you actually add this. If you went for individual ports, you can just go into Add Manually. You can actually choose the box added MIDI controller, and you come down here and you'd say you choose A, then you repeat this, add another one, and you choose B, C, D, and so on and so forth. If you decided to load up my codec file, similar sort of thing, we do Add Manually, on Other, come down to PoohBear, and then under here, you can see the different MIDI channels, So you just sort of select one again, MIDI channel 1, then you select a port you wish to set it to. Now, every time you choose set up another channel, you use the same MIDI port, but obviously you're choosing a different channel. So with the other one, you're choosing the same device and you're changing the MIDI port. With this one, when you come in, you're choosing different models, but you use the same port. So there's a bit of a reversal of what we're actually doing. But on both cases, what I'd recommend you actually do is in here, what I tend to do is I'll actually call this like NC port A01. Then when I come to channel 2, it'll be NC port A02. And if I was doing it manually, I'd do exactly the same thing. So I wouldn't lose track of what we're actually talking about. So once that's actually all set up and you've got yourself several ports, which I have already, I'm just going to come back into Scalar now. Say, here we go, here's Scalar. And we can actually go and add ourselves some more tracks. So let's grab one of them. Let's grab something like a bass or something. There we go, we've got a bass follow. And let's throw in another arpeggiator. Why not? Let's go arpeggiator mad on this. So now we've got individual stuff. This is where we're going to come in here, and I'm going to go into MIDI channel 3 in my particular case. And output device is still going to be my NC port A. Again, if you actually chose individual channels, this is going to be number 4 for me. you would actually leave it on channel 1 and you'd just be coming in here and going A, B, C, D, or your numbers, however you've numbered them, coming down. But in my particular case, I'm always going to go to that particular port, and let's go for number 5, and in here, device A. So great, we've now set up several tracks. We need to get them tracks obviously set up inside of Reason itself. So I'm just going to zoom out while I do this next bit. And so I had myself some plucks. I'm just going to grab a pluck and shove it up there. I want a bass, so I'm going to put a bass over here, and I think I had another pluck going or something going over there. So let's actually go through and make sure that these are all set. So let me zoom in, and if I get this up to the top, because my drop down is so long, things appear off the bottom. So I set that one to channel 4. This pluck here I set to number 3, and this one here I set to number 5. Yeah, so theoretically, we should all be going, he says. Which we are, but I will admit the plucks without a doubt are way down in octave wise, so I'm actually going to crack that in Reason. So let's have that there, and if I do a control and grab that and move this up to here, I can make a copy of that here as well. So that's obviously a little bit quiet on the bass side, so we might want to do something about the bass there. So I'm just going to double click on this and just call this bass 1 for the moment. That would do, and I'm going to just collapse that down, and I'm going to make a copy of that. And then I'm going to actually let's move that so that's together. Let's highlight these two, right click, and I'm going to do combine. Sorry, so I just combine these into a combinator. Now combine these into a combinator because I want the same track to play both of these. I've got to make sure the combinator's got the focus. So let me just zoom in and do this bit so you can see it. And so it was on A4, and by the way, this was on A4, but now because I put it onto here, it automatically takes it off this one here. A device can have multiple devices locked to it, so sorry, an instrument can have multiple devices locked to it, but a MIDI device can only be locked to one. So these can have many, but these can only go to one at a time, so that's how that works. So now I've got that going there, so I've got 2 of these here. I'm actually going to transpose this bass up, so I've doubled it up, so I'm going to transpose it up, and actually I'm going to put a bit of a pattern on it. So I'm just going to grab myself a good old compulsion. Let's see if we can get zoomed in on this and let it settle down. So my zoom program just takes a few seconds to settle down. I'm going to go into S10, make sure I'm on the ARP, and I'm going to make sure this is going to play an octave higher than this, because of the way the arpeggiator works on this, and we're just going to need to draw ourselves in a little pattern. And I'm just going to make myself slow down, so I'm actually hurrying here, so we're going all over the place. Something like that would do as a pattern. I like my kind of rocky sort of 80s pattern. Now at the moment this is all going to sound do 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 do. And in fact, whilst we're here, let's grab the 2 basses. Let me get rid of that browser a second. Bosh. Let's grab these 2 basses and let's just quickly do an output channel. Great. I can solo that. And where's that? Put that there. Let's bring that to the top. Keep it all organized as you do. Hit play. Not quite what I want, so I'm going to grab the length and tie these notes together. I'm going to hold down my Alt key when I do it, so it does all of the lanes. But on the very last one, I'm going to cut that down, and I'm going to cut this one down here. So you get a dun dun dun. So that sounds really cool. That's what I like. Let's actually listen to it all in the mix. Need to sort that out because that's sounding a little bit too quiet for my liking. So let's come off there. Let's go and whack a little bit of saturation on that. He says. Well, that's sounding quite good. Next thing I'm going to want is some drums. So it's going to grab this one here. And I want something like beatmap to play that. So let's go and find beatmap. Where's beatmap? Here it is. That's what I want. And if you notice, that's where that's pinned down in the corner. But I don't want this just to be pinned in the corner, playing and playing and playing. I want this actually to be going off doing a few other things. So let's get that set up. So under my daily stuff, this is all my stuff I use all the time. Good old little LFO. I'm going to hold down the shift key while I create that so I don't get a mixer channel because it is an instrument in its own right. I'm going to actually let me go and grab a couple of AB switches. And then I can zoom in and hopefully settle down. And in fact, I also want an RVL because that's actually going to be quite handy for using some voltages to pin this down. I'll talk about that in a second. So he's going to right click this and combine this up first of all. He says bosh, that's combined up because we're going to need to what I'm going to do, I could go back in straight into the back of beatmap what I'm going to achieve because I want this to be moved around. But if you go into the back of beatmap when you actually do it, so if you use these ports here, you don't actually see this move. And I want to see this moving around, so I'm going to come in here and I'm actually going to get the CV signals coming into the combinator. And I should zoom in here for you. So CV1, CV2, which I'm going to use. So one port I'm going to go to X, and in the other port I'm going to go to Y. Cool. Then let's see what we've got up here. Yes, this would do. So let's zoom in here again. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to put it on a pulse width, and I'm going to bring that tempo right down, and I'm actually going to use this particular square to switch between the A and the B ports on this. This is going to be a random, so I'm going to go down to, by the way, there's two. There's one called a smooth, and there's one called just straight for noise. You want the noise, you don't want the smooth, because the smooth gives you little ramps up and down between the randomization. Let's turn these on, because I'm quite good at forgetting that, and let's just set some tempos up. Yeah, that's good enough actually for what we're doing. And I'm going to give them some amplitude as well. So it gives them more full signal, so it will, if you have it lower, the lower they are, you're going to find this square is going to be in the middle. Then if you have them high, it'd randomly go all over the place, and that's what we want. We want it to go all over the place. So CV out, I'm going to go into the CV control. So I'm controlling the A and the B switch. He says, whoops, let's put that on there. And you'll be able to see this is now flipping backs and forths between the two. In fact, they're going evenly. I'm just going to push this pulse width up. So it's going to spend more time on one than the other. That's what I want. I'm going to take this out and put this into an A. I'm going to take this out and put this into this A down here. We're going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to take that output. It doesn't all fit on the screen. And it's going to go into CV1 on the actual combinator. And CV2 goes into that one. So now, theoretically, this should be randomly moving around on its own, which it is doing. And it is all over the place. And by the way, because I haven't got anything plugged into B, this actually acts as a bit of a sampling hold. But I want to lock it into place, and I rather like that 4 on the floor, which is down in the corner. So if I give this a volt, that's going to lock this. So it's always going to jump back. You can see it's random, it's going into that corner, but I don't want that corner. I want this corner down here, which means I've got to give it -1 and -1 for the X and Y. So now it's jumping down to there. Going a bit too fast for my liking, so it's going to bring the tempo down here. Let's go to 16th, great. And I'm going to push Again, the pulse width needs to go up, so if I have a lot slower tempo, I always push my pulse width up. And around about the 74, 75 mark, that means it should give me sort of 12 beats in this corner, and then we'll have 4 beats going somewhere else, and then we should be back here for like another 12 beats before it actually goes off. So we've got that. Cool. Let's see what else we can do with this. So we've got ourselves some bass going, we've got ourselves some drums going. Let's see what it sounds like. Sounding good. I find that string is a little bit overpowering, so I'm going to bring it down, but it does need something else on top of it. And I think it needs some choirs or something like that. So let's go and grab good old Humane. Let's put that at the top here somewhere. Bosh, there we go. And I'm going to go back into my daily stuff because I want my MIDI CV converter. So I'm going to put that on top of there, hold my control down, make a copy of it, flip round to the back. And I'm going to move one of these in a second. It's just easier to wire them right when they're right next to each other. And this one is sending the MIDI data out, so I want to sit that on top of my strings. Oh, here it is. Sit it on top of the strings. Oh, I brought both of them over. Didn't mean to do that. So now scaler is going to obviously go out, MIDI loop back in, play the strings, but at the same time my MIDI CV converter is going to grab that bit of MIDI, and it's actually going to play the Humane over here. Rubbish sound. Too hard. I'm going to push this up. The reason I pushed that up is coming on the beat, and it's obviously coming in, but I want it to, all the beat happens, something happens, and then we're going to have the choir come in towards the end, which is sounding rather cool. But I've just thought of something else. Right, yeah, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, see if we can zoom in. I'm going to take this pan, I'm just going to plug it straight into the back of this particular LFO here. So let's go swizz around, let's turn this on, let's give this something slow, and I might actually, yeah, that's good, 12/4. So that's actually going to, as everything else is getting like on 16ths and we've got some stuff going on 4th, it's going to offset it, which is what I'm after. I'm going to push this up, and by the way, at the moment, this here would be acting, and I'm going to put it on a triangle as well, would be acting a bit like the, can we go up here? No. Oh, I was going to go so slow. Here we go, and let's go to the back. Trim knob, that's the word I was looking for. So when you're actually down here, changing this amplitude is a bit like using the trim rod on the back. So the trim knob on the back. There we go. So let's actually have a listen to that now, see if that sounds any better. Sounding quite good to me, and I could probably take this even further. I would do things like, I would probably end up duplicating something like the beat map, turn the mirrors on the duplicated one, use things like the note tools then to strip out the snares and stuff, so you're just left with this, and then use the randomizer, the note randomizer thing, and then you could randomly let through some of this stuff. So it's only playing every now and then. That kind of thing is the sort of thing I might do. With compulsion, I could actually come up with some other sort of patterns. I've done that on another video where I have several patterns, and then this can be randomly switching even halfway through a pattern. So if you came up with, say, 3-4 patterns and you have it switching halfway through, you effectively kind of come up with yourself 9 different variations just by building 3 patterns up. So that'll make it sound like there's a lot more movement. But without a doubt, this is quite good. You know, we got a starting point, we can go off and actually do something. You know, we went, sorry, let me just put that there and click on that. We started with this. And we got I think it needs a little bit more mixing, but hey, this isn't a mixing class. This is really to do with, hey, using scalar, and I've just actually got off and had a bit of fun myself. Why don't I? Anyway, nothing left for me to say. Oh, actually, there is actually. Here we go. Hang on, there's a good one. Here's a good one for you before I go. I'm going to come down to here. Now, I happen to have loads and loads and loads of MIDI controllers set up, as you can actually see. There's a big advantage. So I'm just going to select one. It's got nothing coming in onto that MIDI port. It doesn't have to, and I'll tell you why in a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this MIDI focus, and I'm going to come out, and I'm going to go direct record, beep, and I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to go direct record, beep, and I'm going to come into here. Now, why is it semi-important? I have got no MIDI coming in on it. Well, it doesn't. Just by locking a device to it, it means it's going to actually enable it for recording. So it's still not there, that particular one. So let me just click on this and go bosh. So I've now just made a track for it, but I'm just going to give my oomph, the MIDI focus. So 1, 2, 3, they're all highlighted. So now, theoretically, I can just hit record. And we've got all our MIDI stuff, you know, we've got ourselves, if we come in here, we should, there we go, we've got all our drum stuff here, which is going on. This was our bass stuff, which we had going on, so that's now down before. And obviously we've got the normal bass, we've got the normal chords and the arpeggiated stuff we have got going down here. So now we can come in here to our heart's content and we can just start organising stuff and actually obviously start arranging stuff into a sort of like a more of a proper track. That really is the final bit. So thank you for watching and bye for now.